It was a standard industry practice.
In their voice when they realize that they've paid all this money and all of it has been in finance charges. The principal is still there, untouched.
The money bag document was one of several smoking guns showing that the employees knew that consumers were confused, that they were ripping consumers off.
What it showed was that the AMG employees and its managers, they knew how the loan worked. They just weren't willing to tell consumers that. We asked some consumers to send us their loan documents to see what they said. And it became very clear to us, just from a very brief reading of the document, that a reasonable consumer would have absolutely no idea how this loan worked. The language is confusing. It's full of sentences that are interrupted by other information that's unrelated and not relevant to the loan terms. In court, AMG challenged our determination this was deceptive, and actually in one of their filings, their attorneys pulled out specific sentences from the fine print and sort of set them up one after another, and then told the judge, look, judge, it's very clear, the loan was clearly explained. Here are all the ways that we disclosed to consumers how it worked. A reasonable consumer wouldn't understand this language, and a reasonable consumer shouldn't need an attorney standing there right next to them, pointing the different places and the order of the sentences to help them understand how the loan works.
We didn't think a loan note was confusing. It was a standard industry practice. It'd been in the business for, probably 10 years.
Customers knew the process, the renewal. If they didn't pay off, it would
Let's take $300, for example, which was the most common loan. That would be the amount that you're borrowing. It would lay out a finance charge for $300, usually $90. And it would tell you the total of payments, $390. And then you would accept the loan. The reality was very different though. After 2 weeks on the payday, the consumer would see $90 come out of their account. And then in another 2 weeks, they'd see another $90 come out. And then in another 2 weeks, another $90. And at that point, they've paid off $360. And they figure, $30 more to $390. Well, on the next pay period, they would see $140 come out. At which point, the consumer becomes tipped off that something's wrong, something's not right, and they call in. And during that call, they would be told that because they didn't act to pay the loan off in full on their first pay period, something that they had to proactively do, the loan simply got renewed every 2 weeks, over and over, and none of the $360 that they had already paid was applied to their principal at all. If this process were to continue all the way to its resolution the way it was structured to do, $300 would end up costing consumers $975 in total.
Sounds like you're the one I talked to last Saturday when I called.
$360. And they figure, $30 more to $390. Well, on the next pay period, they would see $140 come out. At which point, the consumer becomes tipped off that something's wrong, something's not right, and they call in. And during that call, they would be told that because they didn't act to pay the loan off in full on their first pay period, something that they had to proactively do, the loan simply got renewed every 2 weeks, over and over, and none of the $360 that they had already paid was applied to their principal at all. If this process were to continue all the way to its resolution the way it was structured to do, $300 would end up costing consumers $975 in total.
Sounds like you're the one I talked to last Saturday when I called. You told me I still owe $520.
My case, I made a payment on September the 17th to Rainbow Finance, October 17th to Rainbow Finance, recurring charge from my bank account. Okay, I get the statement. It's $26.36 for September. It's still $26.36 for October. And it's $26.36 for November. I called the company and I asked them what are they doing? They told me to talk to Lovely. So I called my bank and I asked them to stop payment, the recurring payment, and I disputed the charges. They gave me my money back. They said they tried to contact the company. The company did not answer the phone. Since it's been over 60 days, then they would give me my money back and there was no further action from me.
Standard industry practice.